Welcome to another episode of Saddleback Arts Live at Home. I'm Scott Farthing, Dean of Fine Arts and Media Technology. I first came to Saddleback College in 2005 when I was hired to be the full-time vocal music instructor and responsible for teaching voice classes and conducting choirs. I knew that it was a good job with wonderful colleagues in the music department, and I loved teaching all of the levels of students that found their way to my classes. It was pure bliss. But at the time, I had the singular focus of building my vocal program and concentrating on strengthening my skills as a vocal music instructor. After several years of intense focus, I began to be aware of the theater department and the outstanding level of work that was being done there. And then I went to an art gallery show and I was blown away by the level of art that Saddleback students were producing. And then I saw a showcase for the national champion speech team. Holy cow, amazing. And then I went to a dance concert. The heart and emotional movement that I saw at that performance still makes me choke up thinking about it. When the opportunity presented itself to become the dean of this amazing division, I jumped at the chance. I had the last 15 years to get to know the wonderful people of the faculty and staff, and I knew the level of work, commitment, and pedagogical expertise that each person was bringing to these programs every day. In March of 2020, when we, along with the rest of the world, shut our doors and opened the window into virtual education, I was excited to see what we could do with this new challenge before us. How would we continue offering our students the best arts education given the new parameters of a completely virtual world? Well, here's our resident lighting designer, Tim Swiss, to talk about how our theater program jumped into virtual theater productions.
Hi, just a quick video of what I did last semester and what I'll be doing this semester. This is a very much sped up video of me instructing the students on how to set up their green screen kits that we sent them. The next thing you're going to see is me working with the director of Love and Information. She was in New York City, and we were rehearsing the bows, and she was instructing the students who were here in California on how to do their bows. And what you're seeing is the software vMix capturing the rehearsal. The next thing you're going to see is me essentially doing a virtual class on script work. This one in particular is dance, but we have all kinds of script work. So this is just a virtual class. This is our cast for It's a Wonderful Life in the virtual set, and then that's them with the green screen removed, and that's the virtual set again. They were all in separate locations. This is the actual set that we built that we created for the green screen effect. These are choir videos that we put together starting actually with commencement and all the way through the holidays. We'll be doing a lot more of these. The biggest one is the last one you'll see, which I think had about 40 people in it, which is pretty impressive. This is the cast of Love and Information doing a scene. And this is the very first footage we shot with the vMix. I grabbed some action figures and a small green screen and wanted to see if it worked. It worked! Thank you for sticking with us, and hopefully we will see you back in the theaters sometime soon.
Our music program also has been operating at full capacity with our virtual ensembles. Here's a sample of our chamber singers, a jazz trio, members of our applied music major program, and commercial music ensemble demonstrating some virtual and in-person performances done throughout the fall semester.
oceans of our minds. And when the world is preaching rancor, I can choose to be kind. And maybe more will find the quiet rivers, where we'll lift our peaceful melody, and undivided we will stand together hand in hand. And when hatred shatters silence, and each one clings to each one's will, and when the world bows down to violence, I can refuse to kill. And maybe all will join in sweet resistance, singing chords in gentle harmony, and undivided we will stand together hand in hand. And when anger breeds division, we can choose to stand side by side.
And when the world exalts derision,
We can choose to lift each other high. And maybe then we'll join in one big chorus, singing songs of peace and unity. And undivided we will stand together hand in hand. And undivided we will stand. Undivided we will stand together hand in hand.
1, 2, 3.
Our dance program has flourished over the past year. Professor Deidre Cavazzi really wanted to make the fall dance show special, even though the students could neither rehearse or perform together in person. Professor Cavazzi had the idea to merge the world of dance with neuroscience. Through video conferencing, green screens, editing software, and special effects, we were able to bring everyone together for this incredible performance. Here are some behind-the-scenes look at the virtual rehearsal and 2 finished pieces from Signals and Circuits.
Cam, go. Savannah, go. Erica, go. Aaron, go.
So you come up, pop, round, set, 1, 2, 3, ripple through. In, back, up, drop, set, round, up. And I don't care where you're facing when you come up, you can decide based on the rotation.
Saddleback College has a long history of being a leader in the world of forensic competition. These students and faculty spend countless hours studying debate and argumentative skills, reader's theater, extemporaneous, prose interpretation, informative and persuasive speeches, just to name a few. Led by Professors Sean O'Rourke, Lucas Ochoa, Larry Radden, Heidi Ochoa, Rafaela Baker, Taylor Stickle, and the Chair of Communications, Kim Stankovich, this program has garnered hundreds of accolades and awards throughout its illustrious history. First up, Professor and debate team coach Larry Radden. Then we'll hear from Bailey Helmick, one of our talented competitive speakers.
I was sitting in a park one day when a strange old man came walking my way. He offered to take me to distant cities, strange places rich with surreal beauties. And I said, yes. We traveled to a city that shone with gold streets, paved with rubies and pearls. The city brought up old memories, and it set in autumn eternal. And I said, what else is there? We walked for many days to a dark cavern that stank of mildew and mold, built beneath the earth, where blind crickets lie, and people sat in the dark, waiting to die. And this I had seen, cities that prospered and cities that suffered. And I asked for something new, and he said, sure. We came to a horrible place where tyrants sat on towers of dead men and drank from goblets of putrefied phlegm. In terror we turned and fled from their disgrace, and we ran, and we ran. When we got to lost in the city of symbols for things and lost ourselves in a city of challenges, we walked in confusion through a city of lengths and struggled through a city of strengths on our way through a city. And I said, that's enough. We came back to the little bench. The sun had set, and the stars came out to dance. And so I sat and went to rest. And when he came again, I didn't even glance.
Presently, our team competes in the art of competitive speaking against other college students from across the country, delivering memorized speeches in platform and interpretation events, coming up with speeches on the fly in limited preparation events, and skillfully engaging in structured argumentation in debate. To demonstrate what some of these events look like, we have asked recent and current team members to perform their speeches for you today. Our first speaker will be Bailey. Bailey was a member of our team last year, and unfortunately, due to COVID canceling all national tournaments last semester, she was unable to return to the Community College National Forensics Tournament, known as FIRO Pi, where she had won the bronze medal in 2019 for her dramatic interpretation. Bailey will be graduating from Saddleback this fall with an associate's degree in communication studies and will be taking a break from college to get married this winter. She hopes to someday teach public speaking to younger kids to help prepare them for the world and to give them confidence and courage to use their voice. So, without any further ado, presenting her nationally competitive persuasive speech, Bailey.
A Chicago police officer and 2 other people were killed in an attack at a Southside hospital. Police had been called to the hospital after Juan Lopez, 32, confronted emergency room doctor Tamara O'Neill, apparently over a broken engagement. By the time Officer Samuel Jimenez and his partner had arrived on the scene, Lopez had shot O'Neill repeatedly, standing over her as he fired the last shots. Lopez, whose sources say had a concealed carry license, exchanged fire with Jimenez and other officers as he ran into the hospital. Jimenez was shot in the lobby as Lopez continued firing. Dana Les, 24, a first-year pharmacy resident, was also killed as she walked out of an elevator. This is reported by the Chicago Tribune, November 20th, 2018. Hospitals and medical facilities exist for the fundamental purpose of helping and healing. However, across the United States, these havens of hope are becoming targets of violence. According to the Journal of Emergency Nursing in January 2019, healthcare settings traditionally have been considered sacred ground for vulnerable, ill, or injured patients. It is crucial that staff partner with administrators, facility leaders, and safety officers to design emergency departments to minimize or eliminate risks to safety and security in America's hospitals and medical facilities. So today, let's illuminate the impacts, highlight the causes for such appalling actions, before finally offering up some solutions to remedy these egregious incidences.
Finally, our studio art program has not let the pandemic stand in its way of continuing to offer Saddleback students an excellent foundation in multiple artistic genres, including ceramics, drawing, photography, watercolor, screen printing, and sculpture. Under the leadership of Laura Haight, Ryan Even, and Aaron O'Shea, art and photography continues to both inspire and instruct. Here is a sample of ceramics instructor Laura Haight's online pottery classes.
All right, my darling students, we are going to do a pinch pot that is going to be a fruit or vegetable. So today I want to do an avocado with a pit. So I'm taking, it's really helpful to have an actual example in front of you, or at least have photo references. So here's my avocado, taking a good look at what I got. I got a smooth side, I got texture, I got my little ball there, like I'm looking at my overall shape and silhouette. So those are all things that I want to include. So what I'm doing right now is I'm starting off, I'm going to do a double pinch pot. That's really helps in terms of making our form. And I'm going from I always start from the middle, pressing my thumb into the center, and then as I'm moving my hand around, I'm pushing my thumb against my hand so I can feel the wall thickness and make sure that that is nice and even. So I want my two pieces to come together fairly well. There's a couple of little like funky edges, so I'll just tear those guys off. We'll see how that goes. That's looking pretty good. And notice I'm not putting this down on the table. I've been keeping it in my hand the whole time. So I'm going to take my wooden knife and we're going to score this. And you want to score it nice and heavy, really deep, like halfway into our piece, which is why my walls, so like this like soft little scoring nonsense, that is nothing. You have to dig into it. You want to make this like an awful mess right here, okay? Total Frankenstein together. Change the direction of your cross hatching, and then you're going to use the other side of it to actually smooth that all out. So really we're stitching the clay. We're taking, so clay from one of the pinch pots needs to be traveling over to the other pinch pot, and in that process, that is how we are joining these together. And you can see that now you're starting to get kind of a lumpy potato. Now your piece could just look like an awful mess, and that is okay. I'm going to clear off this little space, and I'm going to roll it around on the table like a kitten, because why not? And this is just going to help kind of roll things in. Now, because you went in and you sealed that really well. Now there's an air pocket in there, so that has something to actually give it support. Now our goal is to just smooth this all out. So I'm taking my metal rib, my serrated rib, and I'm scratching over the entire surface. So I'm actually going to sculpt my general shape first and then cut it in half. And then I can have two halves. You don't have to have two halves for the project. You just need to have one piece of fruit or vegetable that looks as realistic as possible. Okay, so this is an exercise in observation. Okay, so now that I've scraped the whole surface, now I took the other side of the rib and I've flattened it as much as humanly possible against the form. And it's because you shouldn't be scraping off stuff. You should just be smoothing it over and kind of compressing it down. Take my needle tool and just cut this in half. Okay, and you can see my walls are about a finger's thickness. I'll just go in there and kind of smooth that little bit out. I'm going to roll out a little slab. I took off my green measurements that are like basically a 1/2 inch to go to a 1/4 inch. Roll out a little slab there, and this is going to be the other side of my avocado. But if I add that on there, it's just going to make it like thicker. So I don't want to make it thicker. So I'm actually going to cut off that 1/4 inch off of my avocado because I'm about to add that back on. And I think this is where students can kind of go wrong when they're trying to do at least the avocado thing. I'm going to add some water here because I'm not going to do quite as heavy scoring as I did before, but as I attach this, I do want to make sure that it's in the shape of my avocado. And you can see how much I'm like really trying to reference that form. And I think that's really important to have that sort of reference image. If you try to do it from what's in your head, you're going to end up with the most cartoony, like stick figure version of whatever it is that you're going to make. So I'm just going to rip off this edge, and you can see I'm doing it really close together, kind of like a bottle cap, and almost pulling it into the wall of the domed form. And that's actually helping it adhere to the piece. So if I didn't have the water and this step, then I'd need to really go back and kind of score that piece up. So let's take a look at how I did. And I can kind of smooth those all out with just the flat side of my wooden knife. And get rid of any of that like excess clay that I don't need. Okay, so now we'll go back over and smooth it out again. It's a whole bunch of like rough it up, smooth it out, rough it up, smooth it out. I want to make sure that I get all the way to the edge there. And flatten that out too, because again, I want that to be like, so it got a little distorted as I was like working on it. Okay, let's check it against the form again. I want to make that little dent over in the side. All right, let's check that out again. Yeah, that's a lot better. I'll just, that last little bit I can just kind of tap down and sort of beat it into place. Okay, so now we should talk about texture. So I need to figure out what texture I want, and I got, so I have some brushes that have like little rounded edges, and I think so I'm looking for like kind of a whole bunch of like dots and stuff. So I'm just hitting it a lot. And that is what you do. And the more I can kind of randomize that pattern, the better it's going to look. And yeah, I think you should just kind of try things out and see what it is that you're getting. And if it's what you like, then continue. If it's not what you like, then stop. Okay, so that's starting to look pretty good. Now let's deal with the inside. excited about that texture. Now let's make a little tiny pinch pot. That will be the pit for my avocado. Okay, and then I'm just going to shave off the little excess on here, get my avocado shell, seed, nut ready to go. And I need to poke a hole into this area, okay? Because I don't want to poke a hole in my avocado seed. The hole is super important. I'm going to add some water, and I'll talk about that in a second. But first I'm going to add some water. And then put, because I'm not going to do like a really heavy job of joining it. So I just want to make sure that I wiggle and kind of press it down onto the surface, and also try to make sure that it makes the right shape as well, which I just mucked it up. Now, I'm looking pretty close. Like, I like that overall like shape and profile. I'm going to poke that hole in there, and I'm making sure that it's, so I don't need to make it super huge. I just want to make sure that it's not plugged up. So that's why I'm going back and forth to make sure that that hole is open. Because I remember otherwise I've made a bomb. I feel like half of this entire process is really just like fussing. So this whole process probably took me in real time without any fast forwards, probably took me about 35 to 40 minutes, which I think is a reasonable amount of time to have for this little like sculpting adventure. Okay, but I want it to be beautiful. It's looking pretty good. This looks pretty matchy. The other one's like a little bit bigger, but that's fine. It's going to shrink down, and in terms of proportions, it's looking pretty decent. I probably could have made my seed a little bit bigger, but I think I'm happy. All right, done.
I am so proud of the work that our fine arts and media technology faculty, staff, and students have done throughout this entire pandemic experience. Through an immense amount of innovation, tenacity, and sheer grit and determination, they have all moved forward in their respective arts. Now, as we look forward to life in a post-pandemic world, we will not be going back to normal. Rather, we will take the lessons we have learned and apply them to new innovations, new classes, new philosophies. Saddleback Fine Arts and Media Technology will be stronger and better because of the work of the wonderful people who both teach and take our classes. We invite you to be a part of this journey. Come make art with us. Thanks for tuning in.